welcome to Latricia Creates. I am Latricia. In today's video, we're going to create a leather card wallet using our Cricut and a sewing machine. Let's take a look at the materials we're going to use for this project. For this project, we need a Cricut machine. I'm going to use my Cricut Maker. We need some leather. I'm going to use these pieces of scrap leather. We need our strong grip Cricut mat, a brayer tool, some contact paper to go on the back of the leather, some painter's tape or some masking tape to hold the leather down on the mat. We need our knife blade for the Cricut Maker. If you're using an Explorer machine, you need the deep point blade. And and a pair of scissors just in case the Cricut decides not to cut the leather all the way through. We need something to cut the leather with just in case. And I think that's everything we need for the Cricut. We also need a sewing machine. I'm going to use my vintage Kenmore 10 sewing machine. If you have an industrial sewing machine, that'll be great. If you have a home sewing machine, that'll be fine too. You might want to consider using different feet to make the process easier. You can use a walking foot, a Teflon foot, in which I don't have handy, a roller foot, or you can use your regular presser foot. You may want to consider putting some Scotch tape under the bottom of your presser foot to help feed the leather smoothly so that it doesn't stick to the presser foot. We also need leather needles, some heavy duty thread. You can use top stitch thread, you can use outdoor thread, you can use heavy duty thread, nylon thread, whatever heavy duty thread of choice you want. I'm going to use outdoor thread for mine. We also need some clips. I'm going to use these Wonder clips. Use whatever kind of clips you have, but don't use pins because pins will leave holes and holes don't come out of leather. So we definitely do not want to use pins. The last thing we need is a pattern. We're going to create our pattern in Cricut Design Space, then cut it out using our Cricut machine. You ready? Let's make it. The first thing we want to do is prepare our mat. I want to cut the contact paper and put it on the back of the leather. Make sure it's down securely and add the painter's tape. Our leather is secure on the mat. Now we're ready to head over to Design Space to create our pattern. I'm in Cricut Design Space and I'm ready to create our pattern. What I did was I got my husband's wallet and I took some measurements from it to come up with the dimensions that I wanted to create this card wallet. So the first thing we're going to do is go up to the top right, click on New Project. That's going to take us to the canvas. We're going to go over to the left menu, click on Shapes, and grab the rounded rectangle. I'm going to take the rounded rectangle and I'm going to change the dimensions to 4.125 by 3.125. I'm going to go up here to the top. I'm going to unlock it and I'm going to change those dimensions. Now I'm going to duplicate this shape. This first one, this is going to serve as our base. I'm going to change the color, make it blue. And this second one, I want to make it into one of our pockets. But I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it again because I want to have a pocket on the back side and two pockets on the front side. So I'm going to duplicate this again, and I'm going to move this one to the side until we need it. Now with this pocket, what I want to do is I want it to be flat at the top. I don't want it to be rounded, so I'm going to grab another shape. I'm going to grab a square and I'm going to change the dimensions of the square to 4.125. And since it's already 2 inches, I'll just leave it at that because that doesn't matter. So I'm going to change the dimensions to 4.125. Then I'm going to put this rectangle on top of the rounded rectangle and weld them together. So before I weld them, I want to make sure they're properly aligned. So I'm going to go to the line panel and I'm going to center horizontally. Now I'm going to weld them together. Now I want to change the dimensions of this. I just want to change the height. The width is going to be 4.125. The height is going to be 2.125. So I'm going to unlock it and change the height to 2.125. This is our bottom pocket. I'm going to change the color of that to this green. I want one more pocket on the front, and I want to make this one into a T pocket. So I need to grab another shape. I'm going to go back over to shapes. I'm going to grab a square, and I'm going to go back to shapes again, and I'm going to grab a trapezoid. The trapezoid is not part of the free version, it's part of the subscription. So if you don't have the subscription, you may not be able to access it without paying for it, but you can always find a trapezoid someplace else for free. So I'm going to go down here, grab the trapezoid, and I'm going to flip the trapezoid vertically. So I'm going to go up to the top, flip vertically, and I want to change the width of the trapezoid to 4.125. Next, I want to take the square and I want to change the width of the square. I want the square to be 4.125 inches wide by 0.625 inches tall. Now I'm going to bring this down to the trapezoid and I'm going to put them together and I'm going to top align them and weld them. I'm going to the line panel, I'm going to align top, I'm going to center horizontally, and I'm going to weld them. Now I have the top pocket. And I'm going to go back here to work on the back pocket. For the back pocket, I want it to be 3.125 inches wide by 3.625 inches tall. So I'm going to change the dimensions. And next what I want to do is I want to grab the trapezoid. I meant to duplicate the trapezoid, but I forgot. So I'm going to go back and grab the trapezoid again. I'm going to flip the trapezoid vertically. And I want to just put a little slit in the pocket here so that there will be easier access to grab things out of the wallet. I'm going to align it by centering horizontally, and I'm going to slice it. So I'm going to go down to the bottom, click on slice, and slice it. Take the pocket and delete this. Now we have all 4 of our pieces. Now we're ready to make it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change all of the pieces to be the same color so that it will cut out on one mat. Now that all our pieces are the same color, we're ready to make it. We're going to go up to the top right, click on Make It. I'm clicking on Mat. I'm going to use a 12 by 12 inch mat. Click Continue. Now I'm going to have to make some adjustments for where I want these cut based on my scraps of leather. I've connected my Cricut Maker. Now we're going to browse all material. We're going to type in leather. And we're going to select We're going to select 4 to 5 ounce tooling leather. Click Done. Make sure the star wheels are moved on the Cricut machine and load the knife blade. And then we'll be ready to go. Now I'm going to insert the knife blade and load the mat. After a couple of passes, this still is not cut all the way through, so I'm going to go ahead and remove it from the machine and cut it by hand. I have all of my pieces cut out. I used the wrong setting on Cricut. I should have used the 6 to 7 ounce leather setting because the 4 to 5 ounce setting did not cut the leather all the way through, and I had to hand cut the leather. But now it's all cut and ready to go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this top pocket here, this bottom pocket here, and then this one goes on the back like this. As you can see, I don't have a lining on the back of mine. If you want to have a lining, you will need to cut an additional piece of leather or some other type of fabric. So the first thing I want to do is put this top pocket on, and I want it to be about a 1/2 inch from the top. So I'm going to line this up and measure down about a 1/2 inch. Okay, I think that's good enough. I'm going to grab some clips and clip the piece on here. And now what I want to do is I want to sew down this bottom line. So I'm going to head to the sewing machine and do that. But before I do, I just want to show you how I'm going to set everything up. After I sew that down, I'm going to put this piece on here. And I'm going to put this piece on the back, and I'm going to sew around the entire wallet. I don't know if my sewing machine is going to be able to handle this because this is actually a lot thicker than I thought, but we're going to give it a try and see how it works. I'm at the sewing machine ready to get started. The first thing I want to do is adjust my stitch length and my tension. I want my stitch length to be at 8, and I want my tension to be where it is around 4.5. We want to have a long stitch length, something that you would use for like a top stitch, maybe a 3.5, a 4, 4.5. What you want to do is test it out and see what you like best. and use the one you like best. I'm working with an 8 over here. Also, I'm going to do about a quarter of an inch. No, not a quarter of an inch. I'm going to do about an 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to just hand crank mine. We're done stitching that bottom stitch line. Now we want to clean this up a little bit. I'm going to cut away these stitches and I'm going to burn the back pieces. Okay, that's good to go. Now we're ready to put our second piece on. I have all of the pieces together. Now I'm going to clip them all in place and sew them together. Like I mentioned before, this is kind of thick. It actually has 4 layers. So what I want to do is just hand crank it with the machine. And be sure to test your machine out because I don't want anyone breaking their sewing machine trying to sew leather if it doesn't go all the way through. Of course, hand sewing is also an option. If you have a punch, you can punch holes in your leather, or if you have a different kind of machine. I think the holes might be too small for Cricut to cut out with the knife blade, but if you have another alternative to make holes, then hand sewing is also an option. Or if you have a heavy duty sewing machine that can handle layers of leather. I know my daughter has a sewing machine that has a leather setting on it, so some machines are better than others. Alright, we're ready to sew through all these layers. Again, we're going to do about an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, and I'm going to hand crank it. Alright, we're all done. And now I need to clean this up a little bit, and I will show you a close-up of the final project at the cutting table. Here is the final project. It came out pretty nice. Now all I need to do is add some finishing touches to it. I want to add a monogram to it, and I'm going to clean it up a little bit and put it in a gift box and give it as a nice gift and include a gift card in it. I hope you are able to make one as well. If you got anything out of this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And thank you so much for watching. Until next time, keep creating.